Thompson. Welcome to a special episode of Escape to Gaming. Today we're going to do a really cool retrospective of the GTA Grand Theft Auto series. Now, for many of us, we're at different places in our life when we played it. Some of us played the very first 1 and 2 Grand Theft Auto, which I've never played. Sadly, I've never played them, although they really weren't quite an open world like we know them in GTA 3 and beyond that. I think I was around 39 years old when I first played it, so I was kind of old enough to appreciate a lot of the adult humor, and certainly had a blast with it. And for some of us, we're little kids or teenagers when we first played Grand Theft Auto 3, and for some of us, we never even played any of them until San Andreas or perhaps Vice City. But for me, it's a very special series, and I would put it up there virtually in the top 10 franchises of all time for video games. It really meant that much to me. So I'm going to take the time and kind of go through Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and GTA 4. And we'll also talk a little bit about the new one that's coming out real soon. So with Grand Theft Auto 3, this was a really interesting game. Now, when I went down, I just had my PlayStation, not more than maybe a few months. I played the hell out of Twisted Metal Black first for about 4 months without buying any other games. And I bought a few other games for that system around the 2001 period. GTA 3, I think, was probably the 4th or 5th game that I bought. So I was like hungry for new games for the PlayStation 2, naturally. And I was still playing some of those old PS1 games. But I went down to the my local Best Buy at the time, and I saw this in there, and I go, Grand Theft Auto 3, I really like the art direction and the graphics on it, but it didn't really say what it was. What's this, Rockstar Games? I didn't know anything about Rockstar, so there was no hype with the internet. There was no hype about, oh, it's Rockstar Games. This could have been a piece of crap for all I knew. I really didn't know. I'm reading the back of it, and I said, well, it's got cars in it, and it's Grand Theft Auto, so you probably get to steal cars. And then I saw a picture of him sniping from the top of a building on the back and the helicopters. I go, wow, this could be really cool. So I took it home and bought it. I had absolutely no idea what it was, and I actually was a little disappointed initially. I think the first 45 minutes, you do the very first mission, and you just do kind of go here, go there. And I wasn't real thrilled with the way the car is handled, because I had already been playing, Need for Speed and all these other games at the time, and Test Drive and different ones. So the cars, they were trying to go for a more realistic car physics, and I wasn't really a big fan of the way the cars kind of swayed and fishtailed around corners and all that. But it was fun. And then once I first got a hold of a gun, and then I started walking around listening to the characters and the people talking on the streets, I said, this is a very special game. It's a very unique game. And many of us have all come to the same conclusions. I mean, it's a masterpiece to this day. People look back, and there's been other retrospectives and things done on the series, and especially on Grand Theft Auto 3. But the game, once I get into it that first night, I couldn't put it down. I think I played this all night long until the sun came up. Made breakfast, I was wiped out, took a long nap, and then went right back to it. I think I even took work off the next day when it first came out. I was so excited about playing it. So GTA 3 was the first time, I mean, really since Driver, that you had an open world. Now with Driver 1 and 2, you couldn't get out of the car, but you had kind of the same feeling of open world and little hidden alleys and jumps and the whole thing, and outrunning the cops. So I was already kind of very familiar and a big fan of the Driver series, but I knew nothing about GTA. So once I started playing it, and even with the opening jazz music in it, and the little montage in the beginning, which I just said, man, this really creates a wonderful mood. And then there was a kind of an underlying, almost like a Michael Mann feel, behind the characters, and kind of a dark, adult-like humor, and stories, and then understories behind the characters, and just the way that they captured the kind of the urban setting of being in this giant, this huge city, which was called, I guess it's called Liberty City, which is kind of like a New York, kind of a deal. And they had kind of like, they call it, the Portland area, with kind of probably parts of the West Coast, parts of New York, kind of trying to make a generic city, but make it something that most Americans could pretty much identify with one way or the other. That's what I really liked about it. They kind of had all your basic cars without really making Chevrolets and Fords. They had ones that kind of looked like cars we were familiar with, old and new. And the way the police looked, and the police cars, and the FBI, black undercover cars, and the SWAT teams and the police helicopters. It was wonderful. It just, the game, once you kept playing it and opening it up, and then I discovered oh look, there's like these little hidden packages or collectibles. So I went on a mission just to find these hidden collectibles that were everywhere. It was wonderful. And then once you found those, you had more guns would appear, these little rotating, icons of guns and weapons, and flak jackets and things like that at your hideout. So I went on a real rampage to find everything I could find. I love the fact that you could drive taxis, fire trucks, police cars, vigilante missions. It gave you so much to offer. I mean, it was just beyond 10 times anything I had ever played before. It's one of those things where the first couple hours I didn't know what to think of it, and then after 2 or 3 hours I said, this game is incredible. I mean, I was really hooked on it. In fact, I got 100% completion, and then I replayed it a second time, again 100% completion, and just loved. You'd look for things to do in the game. I remember near the end I was kind of getting bored right before I discovered the codes, where you could arm all the pedestrians and then have like the enter these what I used to call riot codes. I don't know if that's what they actually were called. And then the pedestrians are going off. You just try to see how long you can survive on the streets with everyone going just completely apeshit. But it was a great game. I just loved the way it was crafted, the adult humor, just walking down the street and listening to some of the really intelligent, well-written conversations people would have and comments they'd make, and it was just too much. I mean, my friends and I literally get so much material in one-liners out of GTA 3. It was really amazing. Later, you get bored, you're just like finding, okay, I'm going to take this car and launch it off this cliff, see how far I can, fly, and we just do these incredible stunts. And then eventually I found there was a little dodo plane on the third island at the airport, and you can try to get a little bit of air and hit ramps, and you almost could fly it a little bit. And I go, hey, you know what? I'll take this dodo and I'll put it in my garage in the parking garage on the second island, and I'll save it. That way I'll have it there. So I drove the dodo to the second island in the middle of the city, put it in my garage, and saved the game. Opened the garage up there, sure as hell, there it is. And I actually took it back to the first island in the giant Liberty City, up on the hills, and flew it all the way to the lighthouse. Got up on the highest hills over the city and actually flew over the rooftops with it. So you just started like looking for things that no one had. They probably were beyond the things that the designers intended for the game. But that's what that game really brought to the table, was just an enormous sandbox of fun. This GTA 3, really opened up a whole new world for sandbox games that many that we've played today, whether it's Just Cause 2 or Mafia 1 and 2. And of course, there's a fantastic Red Dead Redemption, many other ones that we've learned to play, and they all kind of came from this GTA 3. So that's kind of my recollections on the GTA 3. Now with Grand Theft Auto Vice City, it really was a whole different thing. I remember at the time we had we've got our very first computer, it was this little Hewlett-Packard computer. We had a dial-up modem, it's long before the internet as it is today. And my wife, I was kind of inept on the computer, so I had to have her find everything for me. And I said, hey, look up this Rockstar official website. And she found it. And then one night I kept watching it. So keep watching for an update on our next Grand Theft Auto game. And finally they announced it was going to be called Vice City. And it had like a trailer that you could download through a dial-up modem. It took me over 7 hours to download this trailer with the phone ringing. I had to keep redoing it. Finally I did it like all night. And just watched it download, and it was like you'd think it was almost the same kind of hype that we have for the GTA 5 today. It was incredible. So I was really pumped about the game, and when I saw the trailer, it was all choppy and screwed up the way that streaming was when I got that dial-up modem deal. But I loved it. I called my friends, you got to come over. I got this thing saved in my hard drive. It's a new trailer for Grand Theft Auto. You're kidding me. They all come over and check it out. And like I said, there were chunks of it missing. It was all choppy. Parts would play smooth and it would kind of skip a little bit. But we were just so pumped. We were so excited. This is before the internet. Where today you can see everything to death before the game even comes out. So there's all this mystique about what it was going to be. We just knew it was in Miami. Knew it was kind of a Miami Vice concept, the way it was, with Miami and the drug lords and what have you. We were very excited. At the time, I lived up in the high desert in California, and I had to go down to the Ontario Mills Mall. It was 53 miles away, and I remember driving. I took the day off from work, and I pre-ordered the game. I didn't want to miss out on this one. I think it was like an EB Games or something like that down at that mall. and I drove from like 5,500 feet all the way down to the lower elevation where Ontario was to get my copy. And I'll never forget the sun coming through the window. The drive down there was so excited. I got there like 45 minutes early, just chomping at the bit. Got inside, grabbed it, and I was doing, pushing 100 the whole way back on the freeway through Cajon Pass and all that. A lot of fun. I really had a blast getting back home and playing it. Just the anticipation was incredible. So when I finally got home and put it in, I couldn't stop playing. I think I played it virtually all that night into the next morning, kind of like I did in the first Grand Theft Auto 3, and had a blast. I couldn't believe the way that you could jump out of a moving car, you could shoot out the side windows, either at the cops or pedestrians. If you're on a motorcycle, which you didn't even have in the first one, you could shoot straight ahead. So I liked a lot of the new gameplay elements and mechanics that they had in the second one. The cops would throw down these spike strips and come after you, and you could shoot the cops' tires and flatten them, and they'd jump out of the car and you keep going. And it was great. And then you had this little crews of guys that would kind of show up at your hideouts eventually, as you do more missions and get more of a rep, you have more and more of your little guys around your establishments. And then you could actually get into drive-bys where you could have a bunch of guys following you by, and then your guys would actually take shots with Uzis or whatever at the gangbangers driving by. So they really had a lot of really cool new innovative features. I like the jumps. Again, more hidden collectibles. Now you got the water and just the view of everything flying. You could fly for the first time. They had the little dodo plane in the first ones, but it was neat flying the helicopter. So I loved all the new dynamics, the wonderful story, the wonderful voice acting, the fantastic music. I've got all the music CDs, which I've talked about and shown before. I've got them way at the far end of my shelf down there. And I love them. We still to this day listen to the soundtracks. You get all the new wave music and the V-rock with the heavy metal stuff, and more of your pop FM radio music, all that. So it just was refined in every way. I mean, I played that game 100% completion, replayed it again 100% completion, did all the side missions, the vigilante missions, everything, and tried to see how far I could take that game to the point where you were virtually almost bored with it. You never quite was bored with it, but you just played it so much. So, I mean, we got months and months of action out of the old Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So now about 2 years go by, and we're wondering, God, are they going to make another one or not? And in the meantime, they had Manhunt, and they had other great games that came out, which Rockstar made. So now when Rockstar made a game, I listen. And Manhunt even had a lot of that same kind of adult humor with the incidental things you'd hear the guys saying. And you could really tell in that game Warriors also, which I loved. And Rockstar did a fantastic job of taking a movie license and then turning it into a really well-crafted video game. It really captured the mood and the vibe and the feeling of being in that film. But getting back to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, I mean, it's like you couldn't top Vice City. This game, they even had more. Now they got nitrous in the cars. They got you can customize virtually all of the weapons, the cars. You can go to the gym. You can get your hair done different ways. I like the customization. I wasn't thrilled about that you only had one type of stereotypical character to play. Now you could make him skinny or fat and change his hairstyles and all that. That was my only gripe with the game. But it kind of, for the most part, captured the essence of L.A. and the kind of the sleazy underbelly of L.A. from the gangs to the big, high organized crime. And before that came out, Rockstar was kind of hush-hush on it. And there were a lot of rumors. Oh, it's going to take place in Los Angeles, and some people said, no, it's going to take place in San Francisco. And I remember hearing one rumor where they said, no, we've seen shots of Las Vegas. It's going to be in Vegas. Well, little did we know they were going to take San Francisco, Northern and Southern California, and Las Vegas and kind of combine them in 3 big maps in one big world. And that's kind of what made San Andreas really cool. The fact that you could swim underwater, just more detail with the hills. It was a bigger area. Now you can fly Lear jets. I mean, I used to take cars, launch over the ramp, over the barrier into the airport, steal a Lear jet, and then before I unlocked the other islands, I'd fly over the islands, get 5 or 6 stars, get the other military jets trying to take me out, and I'd crash land the plane in San Fierro or something, get on a motorcycle, try to get to a pay and spray, and it was just a blast. You could just have so much fun. I unlocked every damn fancy hideout that there was and dialed them in, and just going into they had the fake Burger Kings, forget what they call them now, and I'd go in there and try to overeat until he pukes, and we'd laugh our ass off. We thought it was so funny. There's just so many wonderful elements of humor in the game, so many ways you can play it. the way the little gangbangers, your crews would drive around with you. I had a buddy that came over one night and goes, dude, did you even know there's a Rampage mode we can do co-op? I go, you're kidding. And there's a couple places in the map where you can go in and two people can play with two controllers, and you get like a co-op Rampage mode where you just destroy everything in sight, and the two of you are walking on the same screen. You have to kind of stay within so many feet of each other. But it's wonderful, and we just played it every way you could play it. I used to hunt down little drug dealers on the street, standing on the street corner, and run them down early on in the game, and they'd leave little bundles of green and money everywhere, and I'd scoop those up, and I'd save. And I learned where all the hidden weapons were. I'd go snatch up the Uzis and the M16s and AKs and all that, go back to my hideout, hit the save file and save it. So I had to slowly accumulate more and more weapons. Again, finding those hidden packages, you get more things that would show up at your hideouts. And I just love playing the game. It gave you so many ways to play it. Many of us love San Andreas. Just going down the kind of the fake faux Sunset Boulevard with nitrous, with your little IROC Camaro just wide open, was just insane. I love that game. I love San Andreas so much. So many different ways you could play. Taking a motorcycle all the way up the trails of the tallest mountain and then launching it off a jump and then parasailing out from there, which are going to have a lot of that kind of same elements in the new GTA 5. Really made that game. So San Andreas, again, another milestone game. Now, unfortunately, I didn't know. I got this greatest hits one because I have the save file on there. I was dying to play it, and I wanted to show footage of my nitrous cars and all my hideouts and stuff. But because of the hot coffee incident, if any of you know, they had some adult content. They pulled it from the shelves, redid it. Well, this greatest hits is not the same one, so my save file says that it's not compatible with this port of it. So I just went to my store this morning and ordered the original one from 2004 or whatever that just is all in black. And I'm hoping that that'll play on my save file because I'm dying to get back into San Andreas again. So anyway, that's my little San Andreas spiel. So the next game on the list is Grand Theft Auto 4. Now, Grand Theft Auto 4, I didn't buy it until the autumn of '09. I went out and bought a brand new Xbox 360 Elite, and I bought the brand new game Wolfenstein the day that came out. And then I also got, for like $20, really cheap, I got GTA 4, the original copy. Now, this is a special edition that has the three different stories, the story of Gay Tony and the Lost and the Damned, which is wonderful. The Ballad of Gay Tony I haven't played yet, but I have played quite a bit of the Lost and the Damned. And I like the way they changed the lighting a little bit. The cars are a little bit different. It's really cool. So this is a great... if you're going to get one, get this edition because you can have a lot of fun with it. There's different dynamics in all three versions that you can play and do, which is pretty cool. But that game, I couldn't believe the graphics. And the physics on the cars were even more realistic. Just incredible weapons, incredible portrayal of lighting, and the weather effects and the way the police chases look even more realistic. The way the glass would get blown out of a car when you go to shoot out your side window, or you hit a concrete wall and it would crack the concrete. They put a lot more love and detail into this new GTA 4. So this game's wonderful. Now, unfortunately, I haven't finished. I'm about 60% of the way through the stories. I got tired of the phone ringing constantly, the damn cell phone. In fact, I did some footage last night in the middle of a police chase. The damn cell phone rings constantly. That's right, you got to stop and hit ignore or accept the call, and it's awkward. That was my only gripe with that game, is that you'd be in the middle of a main mission and you're getting always derailed with taking some guy to play darts or taking some broad to go out dating or bowling or whatever, and it just got a little frustrating at times for me personally, but it's still a great game. Wonderful side content, still wonderful hidden items and collectibles. I love the story of it, of an immigrant coming to New York, the way the story is portrayed. I wasn't, elated with the character playing as Nico, but eventually you get to kind of understand him and know who he is. There are very good characters that were very well written for that, and I thought it was very well portrayed. The way that particular story was portrayed in kind of a New York City type setting, did a very good job. And again, even with that one, it's fun to just see if you can break. I'd go in the subway tunnels and drive into one of the other islands I hadn't unlocked yet, and then get 5 or 6 police stars and see if you can outrun them as long as you can. You still have that same GTA sandbox fun like you had in all the other ones. So I love the Grand Theft Auto 4 is a great game. It's one I'm shamefully I haven't played all the way through. I'm kind of wondering why, because I was really getting into it. I think a couple new games came out, and I just stopped playing it to jump on those. That's what happens. I'm like, with the ADD, I'm all over the map. and I just forgot to finish it. But this is one I'll have to finish soon because I'm dying to see it. But I have a feeling when this new GTA 5 comes out, that's it. It's on. We're all going to be playing that. And the hell with all four of these. I won't be playing a whole lot of any of these, and probably a lot of my PlayStation 2 games either, because GTA 5 is going to just kind of be all-encompassing. It's going to take up everyone's time for months. For some, it'll be just a month and a half. For some, it'll be 4 or 5 months. It's going to be insane. And I think it will be a wonderful go-to game. I was actually talking to one of my friends on Twitter last night, and we both kind of concurred that we're almost more excited for GTA 5 than we are these new consoles coming out. I mean, it's that big. It's that epic. They've spent years making this, tremendous amount of hype around it. You know it's going to be so many layers like an onion. You just be able to peel away the layers. Now they got underwater stuff that's incredible. Beautiful hiking, animals, just lots of incidental things in the area. You can go bike riding, skydiving. There'll be all kinds of water sports and what have you. It's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait for GTA 5. You know it's going to be just wonderful. So I'm very pumped. Now I have the $80 special edition of that one coming, which I can't wait to get my hands on. I was going to get the 150 edition, but I really had no use for the the hat or the I think it was like a money bag or something came with it. Although I do understand it does have additional DLC over and above the $80 one that I've already reserved. So, but I am very excited. I got some beautiful maps that come with it, some DLC I think for clothing and for some of your characters, and maybe additional help or money you can spend in some of the stores and stuff like that. Maybe some car upgrades or what have you. So it'll have some kind of basic DLC improvements. But I like the map and all that stuff. And I may even get the special edition strategy guide too. It's kind of an art book strategy guide, so I'm still kind of on the fence on that one. But I cannot wait. Like many of you, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to keep many of us enthralled with our current gen systems for some time. So anyway, that's my little kind of retrospective on the Grand Theft Auto series. I hope you enjoyed it. Many of us are just, dying to play the game. I'm very excited. I just thought about it, talking to a buddy of mine last night. I said, I'm going to do a little retrospective on this whole GTA thing because it's meant that much to me, and it means a lot to many of you out there too. Many of you love the franchise just like I do. And it's kind of a go-to game. For some it's a Saints Row, and they love the additional, even crazier customization you can do with that. But I like the kind of the gritty roots of the GTA series with the crime and kind of the adult humor and a lot of the adult content that goes with it. It's a fine balance. It's still a game and a franchise and a series that many in society blame society's problems on. My kid played that game and then committed crimes or stole or decided to bully someone or whatever. So I'm going to stop blaming video games. I think if mom and dad did a better job of parenting and saw the M rating on the games and then let their little Johnny play with it, it wouldn't be a problem. So again, I was 39 when I played Grand Theft Auto 3, so it wasn't an issue for me. But even my little nephews, they love playing this, and it's fun to watch them play. But it's really not for kids. There is a lot of adult, humor in there, a lot of gory, violent content, what have you, and that's kind of what draws me to it. I like Rockstar games because they're famous for that violence, and you really do a good job portraying it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little retrospective on the GTA series. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful summer. Have a great time with Grand Theft Auto 5. It's coming out real soon. We're all very, very pumped. I can't wait to see everyone's impressions and reviews on this one. It's going to be a masterpiece. So thank you very much and enjoy your games.